Hey everybody, and welcome to a video which I have delayed for quite some time because, well, I've just really been dreading doing this video. I knew I was going to have to do it at some point, but I wanted to delay it as much as I possibly could. However, I think now is the right time to do it. Um, so for everybody that watched my videos where I was training for the bodybuilding competition, I mentioned about an injury that had kept me from lifting for quite a long time, and I didn't go into detail then about it, but I'm ready to go into detail now about it. And I'm going to try to keep my focus on the camera so that I'm looking at you, but I do have a list over here of a lot of stuff that I have to go over, so I will look away from time to time. Um, okay, so let me just look at the list real quick. And, alright, so I guess from the title of the video, you've guessed that this video has something to do with Cipro or ciprofloxacin, which is a medication. It's an antibiotic, actually, um, typically prescribed for UTIs, prostatitis, things like that. It was also prescribed, I believe, during either when the anthrax scare was happening. It was prescribed to people to combat that, but I may be wrong. It may have been a sister drug of that, of Cipro, that was prescribed. But anyway, this is mainly about Cipro because that's the medication I took, but these things that I'm going to tell you about happen, or can happen, with any of the medications in the Cipro family of antibiotics. So I was prescribed Cipro the first time. I took it twice, actually. The first time it was for prostatitis, and that was in, let me think now, it was in December of 2011. And the the first pill I took, I woke up in the middle of the night after taking the pill. My heart was racing faster than I think it ever has before in my life. And it felt like it was going to jump out of my chest. So I was really freaked out by that. But, um, but I read on the label, it said, make sure you take with a full glass of water, or I don't remember exactly right now, but I know it was a lot of water, maybe 8 ounces or 10 ounces. And I said to myself, well, you know what, I didn't do that when I took the first pill, so maybe that was my problem. Maybe I just have to drink more water. Well, that was a huge mistake, but I wouldn't realize that until much later. So anyway, I took the rest of the pills. I was on it for 10 days, if I recall correctly. And I felt fine for the rest of the 10 days that I was on the medication. And I felt fine for like 4 or 5 weeks after. And it got rid of my problem, the prostatitis, so I wasn't dealing with that anymore. 5 weeks after I finished the medication, I started getting a twitching in my right eyelid. It would start going like this, just randomly, just moving like this for maybe a few seconds. Then it would stop for hours, and then it would start again. And then it would stop, and then it would start again. This went on for several days. Uh, and actually, it not only went on for several days, it went on for several months and years, and actually I still get it once in a while. Not nearly as much as I used to, but it still happens once in a while, and typically when it does start to happen, I say to myself, well, I guess I'm going to have another flare-up of these kind of weird symptoms, which I will get into in a little bit. Just going to have a sip of water first. Okay, so anyway, the twitching. So for about a month, it was the twitching was just in my eye, and it would do this, and would I would look up online and see what do you do about twitching in your eye, and most things said, well, it's gonna go away in a few days or a couple of weeks, but it never did. But I was like, oh, well, okay, I don't know what's going on, but hopefully it'll go away soon. Uh, about a month after the twitching started, I started getting twitching in other areas of my body, and I was like, aha, super. Um, then I had um, I had to have a root canal done, which is completely unrelated to this Cipro thing, but I had to have a root canal done, and uh, they, numb my lip or my tooth or whatever, and uh, later that day, I feel just absolutely awful, like unbelievably horrible. Maybe the worst I've felt almost in my entire life. Excuse me. So I say, okay, I gotta go to the emergency room because I feel just can't even describe it. I go to the emergency room, and they say, well, the only thing we can find wrong with you is that you've got a urinary tract infection. So we're gonna prescribe you this Cipro. Again, at the time, I had no idea uh, that the Cipro was causing the problem in the first place. So they said, we're going to prescribe you this Cipro for 5 days, and that should clear it up, no problem. So I take the Cipro for 5 days. So now I've been on it twice, although thankfully relatively small doses. And I go back to my urologist, or I go to my urologist rather, and he tests my urine, and he's like, you didn't have a UTI, so I don't really know why they prescribed that to you. So I was like, okay, great. But at the time, I didn't really think anything of it. I was just like, okay, well, that was a waste. But so yeah, so I get out of the ER, the Cipro. They couldn't find anything else wrong. But for the next month, I'm talking for maybe even 5 weeks. I I feel again just like the worst I've ever felt in my life for a month or 5 weeks straight. Not even joking. I didn't really that bed. I spent maybe 18 hours a day in that bed, maybe more, maybe 20 hours a day. I for about a month. It's just like sleeping was my best friend because when I was awake, I felt. Sorry to say, but I felt like absolute shit. It's unreal how bad I felt. Um, and okay, so I have this long list of symptoms that I had, uh, and I will get to them right now. I'm probably not going to look at the camera too much, so sorry for that. So again, this is after my second Cipro, the second time I was on it. The twitching that had only been in my eye was now starting to move to all different parts of my body. I was getting muscle twitches in muscles that I didn't even know I had. I mean, I wasn't even like aware of them. I mean, like obviously you have a muscle that controls your jaw, but like this, like right here, just this little bit, not even over there would start twitching, uh, and then like this little bit, not even the whole muscle, just like teeny little bit of it would start twitching. So um, that went on for months and months and years, and actually I still, like I said, I still get it once in a while, but it's not too bad. All right, sorry for the interruption. oddly enough, it just happened to be exactly at the 10-minute mark in the video, but anyway, we'll continue from there. So I went over the twitching, and that again, it started about 5 weeks after taking the first dose of Cipro. Then about a month to maybe again 5 weeks after that, it started to move to other parts of my body. Also, what happened at that point, again, this is after the second time now on Cipro, I started getting short bursts of pain all over my body. Um, just like here, 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 here. My legs, my feet, my torso, my back. Couldn't explain it and was really baffled. Um, also, my teeth. Pain in every tooth. So when I went back, I'm laughing, but because it sounds silly now, but at the time I was just like horrified. I went back to my dentist after getting the root canal, and he said, "How are your teeth?" And I said, "Well, I have pain in all of them, but I don't really know if that means anything." It was really like one of the strangest things I've ever experienced. And again, much like I said, I had twitching in places that I didn't know I had muscles. Well, I had pain in places that I didn't know existed. It was really really freaky, and I sure as hell hope that that doesn't come back. Okay, so aside from that, now I'm gonna mention more pain, but this is the first type of pain I mentioned just now. It was really short bursts, like 2-3 seconds, and it would go away. Then it would 2-3 seconds go away again, and it would just be completely random. I also had a different kind of pain. I had abdominal pain um, for just months and months, and it would be a really, really sharp pain, and then it would sort of trail off, but maybe last, I don't know, 10 seconds and a minute. It varied. Again, really, really freaky and really, like, at the time, completely unexplainable. I had no idea what was going on. I also had a different kind of pain, not these random short bursts of pain, and not the abdominal pain. Pain in my left ear, mostly. Once in a while in my right, but it was mostly my left ear. And I never, in my entire life, I mean, up until that point, 29, 30 years or so, never had trouble with earaches or anything like that. And now, suddenly, I'm getting earaches, like, left and right. So, that was starting to freak me out, too. Okay, now, the thing that really kept me from lifting for actually, like, 2 years, when I get down to it, is I had pain under this arm. Um, I wouldn't say constantly. It wasn't constant throughout the day, but it was like if I would, let's say this teeny tiny bottle of water. If I tried to lift that up, I might get pain under my right arm, and it really really kind of ridiculous how things that were so like. And I used to lift. I used to press like this over my head 70, 80 pounds. And now, suddenly, I was not even able to lift up this without having pain under my arm. So that's what kept me out of the gym for 2 years. It kept me from doing yoga for 2 years. The reason you really haven't seen that many videos of me in my braces for the past 2 years is because I had pain and I couldn't do it. I couldn't even do like dishes. For a long time, I couldn't play guitar, I couldn't play piano. Uh, so that the pain under my arm got gradually less and less. It started going away. It was very slow, and I still actually do get very, very, very slight hint of it once in a while, but compared to how it used to be, it's nearly non-existent. So I'm really thankful for that, and again, I hope that that never returns. Um, okay. Also, I had increased occurrence of headaches. Again, much like the ear thing. I mean, I never used to get earaches. Headaches I used to get once in a while, before taking the Cipro. After taking the Cipro, for like the first 2 months or so, mainly the first month, but the first 2 months, I would have a headache like every other day, and worst headaches I've ever had in my life. So that was also not very nice. Again, as I mentioned, when I took the first pill, I had rapid heartbeat and palpitations. But that after all these symptoms started appearing, that came back, and it went on for about a month and a half, I guess, 2 months. Again, most of these things about a month and a half, 2 months, and then they started going away. With the exception of the pain under here, that took much, much longer. Okay. I also had high blood pressure during that time, but since then I've been completely fine with blood pressure. Oh, night sweats. Really freaky. I've always I have a because of the kidney stone that I have, I tend to sweat a lot. My back tends to sweat a lot. But after taking the Cipro for like again the first month to 2 months, I would wake up and wake up. I'd be wearing like just maybe um, boxer briefs to go to bed, no pants, no shirt. But I'd wake up in like just this puddle of sweat. Um, and again, at the time, I was just like, man, what the hell's going on? My body is uh, starting to betray me or something. Okay, so also, the list just goes on and on. Numbness and tingling in both hands. Again, for like 1 to 2 months, I would just like it would just be completely random that I would not be able to feel either of my hands, or I'd get pins and needles in both of them, and then it would go away just as randomly as it came. Okay, another thing that lasted longer than 1 or 2 months, dizziness. I was I had dizziness or lightheadedness. I'm not really sure how to describe it actually. Oh, excuse me again. Sorry. Uh, but I was dizzy or lightheaded, whichever you want to say, uh, every day for about 6 or 7 months, and what that meant is that I couldn't drive for that amount of time because, I mean, I don't know if you can imagine, but getting behind the wheel of a car and then all of a sudden, like, the world is spinning around you, it just doesn't work. So I wasn't able to drive for 6 to 7 months. But I couldn't drive anyway because my underarm was bothering me, so it's like, uh, really, I'm just like, thinking back about all this stuff that happens, uh, I, I don't even know what to say. Okay, the last, the last, symptom I had, and this is this is really when I started getting worried. I mean, not that I wasn't worried before, but when I started getting this one, I really started to think I was going insane, starting to lose my mind. I had formication, and what that is basically it's the sensation that you feel like you have bugs crawling under your skin, and I'll be damned if that isn't one of the weirdest feelings ever. Thankfully, that only lasted about a day or two. Mm, and maybe 3, but I really think it was 2 days, or even 1 day. It was really not a lot, and I'm so thankful for that because it was really freaking me out when it happened. Uh, and it was towards the end of the cycle, I'm gonna say. So after the second time that I took the Cipro, it was towards like the 4th or 5th week that I had that, and it was after that that everything sort of started to get better. Um, but during that whole time, I was incredibly depressed, and now I'm not. I can't be sure. I don't think that was actually from the medication, although it could have been. I think that was more because I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go anywhere. I was sleeping like 17, 18 hours a day. So, I mean, of course I was going to be depressed. I wasn't able to go to the gym. I wasn't able to drive my car. I wasn't able to go kayaking, go rock climbing. I wasn't able to do anything. So I think that was the reason for the depression. And I also had bouts of paranoia. And again, I don't think that was actually from the medication, although it could have been. Um, I think that was more my brain going, okay, now I've got pain. Okay, now I've got twitching. Okay, now I've got heart palpitations. Okay, now I've got night sweats. Now I've got numbness and tingling. Now I've got dizziness. My brain, I think I was just like, man, what's gonna happen next? Is my arm gonna fall off? Is it? Um, so I think that's what that was about. But anyway, those really are all of the symptoms that I had, and I actually have this list. I made this list not while I was preparing for this video, but I made this list uh, about 2 years ago while I was having the symptoms because I was going to all kinds of doctors and I was trying to explain all these things that were happening to me, all these symptoms, and it ended up being that there were so many things for me to explain that I just had them written up and took the list to doctors and I was like, here, this is what's been happening to me. Can you tell me what's wrong? Um, and I will get to all the doctors in a little bit. But first, I'll just say the originally when I took Cipro the first time and the second time, the only warning on it about side effects was about tendon damage, tendon ruptures, and ligaments, which I'm pretty sure this thing that injury was because of tendon damage, and it took a hell of a long time to heal. And well, apparently tendons are one of the things in the body that takes the longest to heal, out of like organs and bones and muscles and stuff like that. Um, from what I've read, anyway, I'm not a doctor or anything, so I can't say for sure. But again, at that time, that was the only thing that the drug makers, Cipro, the makers of Cipro, that was the only thing they were admitting to, and the only problems they admitted it caused. But about a year, maybe a little bit more than a year, after I took the medication, the FDA said to the makers of Cipro, okay, you're going to have to put a, another warning on your product because you need to put a warning that says that it can cause peripheral neuropathy. And that's basically all of the stuff I just described. So at first, when I told people that I was getting all these weird symptoms, they were like, yeah, okay. They thought I was crazy, basically. And again, as I said before, I was starting to think I was crazy. But it was like, oh my god moment when I read that the FDA mandated that they would have to put more warnings on the drug. So I was like, I don't know about happy about that, but I felt sort of some vindication, like, aha. So these things that were happening to me weren't just all, me going crazy. It was actually stuff that has happened to uh, hundreds and thousands of other people that took this medication and other medications in the same family. Okay, so I guess I'll get to the doctor stuff next, but just right before I do that, I want to say my sort of mindset going through all these symptoms and going through all the doctor's visits and everything. At first, when the first stuff first started happening, like the twitching and then the pain all over, I was like, okay, I must have some disease. So I've got something like Lyme disease or MS or ALS or who knows. And as I mentioned, I was obviously depressed about that. But then as the symptoms started getting weirder, like the formication, you know, feeling that bugs were crawling in my skin, under my skin, I was, as I mentioned, I was getting to the point where I was like, okay, now I think I'm maybe going crazy. I think that maybe this is just me going insane. Um, and the third thought was just like, I don't know if I don't know if I would say it was the third thought, but like randomly in between all these things happening, the sleeping for like 17, 18 hours a day, pain all over, twitching, I really felt like my body was, I was being betrayed by my body, and I would have swore that I was going to die in weeks or months. And then, unbelievably, things started to get better. And I'm just really so thankful for that, because I wasn't sure I'd ever have my life back. And so far, things have been continuing to get better, so I'm just like, words can't really describe how thankful I am that I got through it, and hopefully will continue to get better. Um, okay, so all right, the doctors. Well, I went to uh, numerous, like copious amounts, like more doctors than and I've been to a lot of doctors in my lives, in my life because of my disability, paraplegia, and scoliosis, and heart murmur, and all that kind of stuff. I've been to a lot of doctors, but this I was to way more doctors than I'd ever been to before for this. I went to an infectious disease doctor who tested me for a whole crap load of stuff, Lyme disease, a whole bunch of other um, non-sexually transmitted diseases, and then also sexually transmitted diseases, which I'll say was like, well, it felt weird. I don't know if it was embarrassing or I just, it's not something I ever thought that I'd have to do in my life, but I got tested for syphilis, I got tested for gonorrhea, got tested for every type of hepatitis, and I got an HIV test also. And I mean, like, HIV, sure, you could get that from, I mean, I could have, for all I know, I could have had HIV for years and not even known it, because I've had so many blood transfusions. And hepatitis, you can get that in different ways also. There's, I mean, C is I guess, the sexually transmitted one, but there's A and B, which you get in other ways. But nothing. Every test he did came back negative. He basically said to me, "There's nothing wrong with you." So, I was sort of like, okay, great, there's nothing wrong with me. And then I was sort of like, then why is all this shit still happening to me? Um, I went to an ENT, ear, nose, and throat guy. And he tested my hearing, because I was having all the ear pain and ear pressure, and also the dizziness. So he tested my hearing and balance, and he couldn't find anything wrong with me either. So again, yay, nothing's wrong, but why is all this stuff happening? Um, Obviously, I also went to my general practitioner like a few times, and I mentioned that I was in the emergency room, so I don't even remember what doctors saw me there. Um, I went to my urologist, and the urologist said, it's probably something to do with your heart. I went to my cardiologist. The cardiologist said, oh, well, it's probably, something to do with your kidney stone. Go to your urologist. None of them ever mentioned that it could have been caused by medication that I had taken, with the exception of the last doctor I went to see, and that was a neurologist. And again, man, I so never thought I'd be going to a neurologist in my lifetime, but there are a lot of things you don't expect that to happen in your lifetime that end up happening. So I went to the neurologist, and he did a bunch of tests on me, and he found nothing wrong. He said there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. He did a brain scan. He did all kinds of other neurological tests. Nothing wrong. Uh, but I mentioned it was fine. It was finally at that time when I went to see the neurologist. That was like maybe okay. So I took Cipro the first time in December. The second time was at the beginning of February. I think I went to see the neurologist at the end of March or possibly the beginning of April. So that was about the time when I had I don't I was initially I thought it was Lyme that was causing all the problems, and so I kept looking online to find out information about Lyme and symptoms and the treatments and all kinds of stuff like that. And then somehow one day I I was looking for information about Lyme disease, and I stumbled upon a website that mentioned side effects of Cipro, and I started looking at the side effects because the Lyme ones didn't exactly match mine. They were close, but it didn't match exactly. When I started looking at the Cipro ones, I was just like, oh my god, this sounds eerily like what's happening to me. And I took Cipro twice. Um, so anyway, so at one of my appointments with the neurologist, I think I had two or three, because there was the initial appointment, then there was the appointment where he did all the different kinds of testing, and then the last appointment where he said basically, nothing's wrong with you, or I can't find anything wrong with you. But at that appointment, I said, I took Cipro twice. I was reading that some people, again, and this doesn't happen to everybody that takes Cipro, and some people take it like 4 and 5 times, never have a problem, and the 6th time, they have a problem. But anyway, so I said to the doctor, is it at all possible that medication could cause this stuff lasting for so long? And he said, I don't want to say it's that, but it's possible. I've heard of things like that happening to other people having reactions like that to medication. And so at that point I was just like, wow, I didn't say this to him, but in my mind I was saying, I've been to so many different doctors. I've spent so much money trying to figure out what's wrong with me, and like nobody ever mentioned, hey, have you taken any different medications in the past few months? And well, I was really, again, I don't know about happy, but I was just like, wow, finally someone is admitting that maybe the medication did cause this stuff. And okay, so anyway, I have this highlighted here. I just want to make sure I mentioned every test that I had done by every doctor I went to see came back negative. none of them found anything wrong. Okay, so moving on, and I'm sorry this video is so long. This is, I guess, going to be the longest video I've ever done, but all this stuff needs to be said. So moving along, while after I finally figured out, or I don't know about figured out, but suspected that this Cipro medication had caused or was causing my problems. Again, I was reading stuff online about it, and I have to say that was really helpful for me too. Just knowing that there were other people going through what I was going through, other people that had gone through it before, and like so many of them, these like support groups on Facebook or on like survivingcipro.com or so many different sites, so many of them saying don't don't give up. It gets better. You will feel better. It takes a long time, but you will feel better. And you know what? Those people were really right. And I'm so glad that I found those websites because they really helped me a lot. Just my like mental well-being. Uh, so anyway, a lot of people on the websites said, take this vitamin, take this vitamin, take this vitamin, fish oil, take magnesium, take vitamin A, B, or whatever, C or E, or um, so I did all that. I was taking you can't even imagine how many vitamins I was taking every day, and I honestly do not know if they helped. I don't know if it was just a placebo effect, like I felt like they were making me feel better, and because I felt like they were making me feel better, I was feeling better. I don't know if they helped or not. That a lot of people said drink tons and tons and tons and tons of water, so I did that too. And again, no idea if it actually worked or if it was just my mind, like playing a trick on me, making me think that I was getting better. But I can say that I did that for about a year, maybe a little more than a year. I haven't taken vitamins, any of the vitamins really, in at least 8, 9 months, maybe 10 months. And although I still drink a lot of water, I don't drink it nearly as much as I was when I was trying to recover from this thing. I was drinking like uh, 4 of these a day, maybe. I mean, I was really just like pounding them back. So I haven't. So I've gone back to my usual water drinking uh, everyday kind of thing, and I haven't taken the vitamins in months and months. And well, the symptoms have continued to lessen, have continued to get better. So again, I don't really know if the vitamins were helping, uh, but they weren't hurting. So, uh, so if you're struggling with this, I really can't tell you definitely take them. Definitely don't take them. If you feel like they're a waste of money and you don't need them, then don't take them. I was at the point where I wanted to do anything I could to get better. So, okay. Alright, I mentioned about the online support groups and stuff already. Okay, so the repercussions, I guess, of this whole ordeal that I went through. And first and foremost is that I don't trust any doctors anymore. Like, seriously, I don't trust anyone. I do whatever I can to stay away from doctors now. And I take everything they say with a grain of salt, basically. And I'm super duper looper hooper scooper. Uh, I am incredibly afraid of taking any any medication now, uh, and I guess I should have been more uh, concerned with that before, but I never realized that anything so serious could happen because of taking medication. So, my injuries, any minor injuries I get now, take way longer to heal than they used to before I took Cipro. Uh, I can't really say if it's because of the Cipro or if it just happens to be a coincidence. Maybe it's because now I'm over 30 years old, and before I was, in my 20s. Um, I don't know, but I definitely noticed, like, I happened to, I was visiting a friend somewhere, and he lived upstairs, there was no elevator, and I had to walk up the steps on my hands, and one of my fingers bent backwards. And right after it happened, I felt fine, didn't think anything of it. The next day I woke up, it, it hurt so much. I couldn't even move the finger at all. And previously, when stuff like that happened to me, and used to happen from time to time, I would, it would heal in a couple of days, maybe like 4 or 5 days at most. Uh, when I did it the last time, though, it took it took like a month and a half, maybe, or more. It was a long time. Okay, so as I mentioned, I still get random twitching sometimes, especially like if I put my contacts in. Like I put my contacts in to do this video, and I did my hair. I hope you like it. Get all pretty for you guys, and girls. But like put my contact in one eye and the other eye, and I'll get a little twitching. Sometimes I don't even have to do that. Sometimes I just have to blink, and then it'll like go, brrr, and then it'll stop. Um, let's see what else I got here. Okay, so I guess that's it for the uh, for that part. Okay. I feel like I'm missing something. Alright. So I do want to say that even though all this stuff that happened to me was really... I know I said it was the worst I felt in my life so many times, but it really was. Um, uh, I mean, I went from running in 5K races, competing in bodybuilding competitions, kayaking, uh, rock climbing, riding my bike miles and miles and miles. Uh, I went from doing those things to not even being able to get out of bed for more than 3 or 4 hours a day, and that was really really tough. Um, Even though I've used a wheelchair my entire life, I've been a paraplegic since I was 6 months old. I never actually felt disabled until all of these things started happening to me. Not being able to go to the gym made me feel disabled. Not being able to do yoga made me feel disabled. Not being able to ride my bike made me feel disabled. Not being able to go rock climbing. Not being able to go kayaking. I mean, the list just goes on and on. So it was really kind of a weird experience for me because, again, even though I've been disabled my entire life, it never felt that way to me. So, uh, I don't know. I'm s- I, a lot of these things, I don't even really know what to say about them. They're just really... I, I, I never thought anything anything like this could happen. Uh, what I do want to say, though, is that I'm actually really thankful that my experience after taking Cipro wasn't that bad. It honestly wasn't. I know I mentioned a lot of really bad things, but uh, there are some people that have taken it have just had absolute horror stories. Uh, People that lost the use of their legs completely, or ended up not being able to move. Basically ended up being quadriplegics, not being able to move their legs or arms. People that lost their lives, people that their marriages broke up, their families. I mean, it's just I'm really, it's mind-boggling how something can happen from medication that is supposed to be helping people. Okay, so I have my last part now. In conclusion, I already mentioned this, but I was really pleased that the FDA finally required a better warning, more of a warning on the side effects of Cipro and other drugs in the same family. Uh, a lot of people that have survived these weird kind of effects, side effects, or I don't even, I guess side effects, but a lot of people, sorry, this is, this is, this stuff is kind of hard to talk about, so if I don't look at the camera, it's, I'm sorry for that, but, a lot of people that have gone through similar experiences as I have, uh, or worse experiences, want Cipro and other drugs, I think another one's Leviquin, Avalox. They want them taken off the market, and I honestly can understand why. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just like really getting. I don't know if it's nerves or something, but I can understand why they would want the drugs taken off the market. I'm not sure I feel the same way. I think that they can be helpful to some people. They are extremely powerful drugs, extremely powerful, and I definitely think there is probably a place for them in medicine, but I definitely don't think the place for them in medicine is for people that have a UTI for the first time in their lives, or someone who has prostatitis for the first time in his life, or, well, women don't get prostatitis, but I definitely think it's being overprescribed. I'm not sure it should be banned completely, but it definitely should not be prescribed nearly as much as it is currently. Uh, I don't know. I don't know if that will ever happen, because like I go into my urologist's office, and in every room in his office, there are big posters that say Cipro, 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 sponsored by, and I just I don't I think there's too much money in it for it to ever be banned completely. And again, like I said, I'm not sure it should be banned completely. But it it's definitely being prescribed way too often. And okay, I already said the last thing I had, but I'll say it again. Even though I've been a paraplegic since I was 6 months old, I've been a wheelchair user as far as back as I can remember. Um, I've dealt with a lot of things in my life that I'll say able-bodied, let's say, people don't have to deal with. I never ever once felt disabled until after taking uh, ciprofloxacin. So I guess that's it for my video. And again, it was a really this was a very difficult video for me to do. Uh, and definitely the longest video. I mean, it's 40 minutes now. I'm actually hoping that uh, YouTube will allow me to upload a 40-minute video. Uh, and I really hope that people are going to find this video helpful, because I know when I was trying to find answers for what was happening to me, I was just, I was so sad, so depressed, so confused, and um, it was just really helpful to find any information at all that I could find. Um, so to those of you that might be struggling with the after effects of taking Cipro or any of those other drugs, it's gonna get better. I am proof of that, and it may take a while, but don't give up hope. I mean, I went from I went from doing bodybuilding competitions to uh, not being able to get out of bed for more than 3 or 4 hours a day, and now just a few weeks ago I did another bodybuilding competition, and it's just like when this when the after effects first started happening to me, I didn't think there was any way I was ever gonna get back to that. I mean, I've been kayaking again this year, doing the bodybuilding again, doing weightlifting. It's it's been it's been a really strange experience. I don't know if I'm a better person because of it, but I'm definitely a changed person. So okay, again, I really hope that I don't know about enjoyed this video, but I hope you found it insightful, helpful, useful. I don't know. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Thank you.